Welcome back to Bay Sunday. In our last segment, we discussed the 2008 presidential election, which has garnered worldwide attention. Now we turn our discussion to another country that shares the global spotlight, China, host of the Summer Olympics. In honor of Asian American Heritage Month, we've invited author Victoria Cass to share some of China's rich history. In her new book, In the Realm of the Gods, Lands, Myths, and Legends of China, she documents the traditions shared by generations. Victoria is a scholar specializing in the religions and literature of China. She received her doctorate from UC Berkeley, and thank you for being with us this morning. It's a beautiful
Thank you, Barbara.
book.
It's a thrill to be here.
Such wonderful photographs in the book. We're going to look at some of those in just a few minutes. But first, just give me a little overview of what the book is about and why you wanted to do this.
Well, I traveled to all sorts of regions of China and in my research and earlier work, and I found that mythology and storytelling comes right out of specific places, mountains, rivers. There's some great legends about mysterious lakeside ghosts and apparitions. So I really found that storytelling was linked to place in a way that I didn't think people realized about China. So there's a lot of cultural data that comes when you travel.
And why is that so important for us to understand when we're looking at China? Because China is definitely becoming much more of a global player.
Well, I think storytelling is a great place for cultural codes. So I don't think anything ever takes place totally in the present. And when you go to Shanghai, which of course is the most brilliant modern city with more building that's taking place there than anywhere else, you still will tap into some great myths and great stories about the dangerousness of the place, the lusciousness. It's a place for wonderful romantic encounters. So you really, I think, and the Chinese are very aware of their own storytelling tradition.
Well, let's take a look at some of the photographs in the book. And the first one is the imperial butt.
I love that.
And I was like, what is this about?
Yeah, that's from Beijing, from the capital, and it's really it's the backside, literally, of the splendor of the palace. And I used it with a story about a very, very greedy emperor. The Chinese are great satirists. They really know pomposity for what it is, and so they have a great little story in there about a goddess of compassion who exposes the nasty greed of the emperor.
So by looking at the backside, that's sort of giving that away. And let's keep going through some of these photographs, and you can just give us a few. This is a beautiful photograph.
That's from Shandong. It's the Confucius family cemetery, and it's a very eerie place. I took a bunch of students there.
And these horses are statues on graves.
Yes, yes. It's a very somber, beautiful place with these statues kind of randomly almost stationed throughout. It's very, very quiet, very mysterious, dark, private, and gives a great feeling for the sense of ancestral observation, the sense there are clouds of witnesses that watch you. And that is, of course, the sense that comes out of Confucianism. So I set that with a story of a loyal Confucian who brings this tale and the influence of his ancestors with him wherever he goes.
You said that you looked at this in different regions, and the different regions had different kinds of myths and different kinds of stories. So what determines that, whether they're near the water or the mountains?
That's a great question. I think as a dangerous woman, I think you probably are one of those. You're likely to find those near water. And in watery places such as the Yangtze Delta, where there are great canals and lush lakes and riverways, that's where you're going to find a shape-shifting woman, a female predator, that you have to watch. Well, you don't have to watch out for. Men have to watch out for them. So yes, they are very much determined. And on a mountaintop, you're likely to meet an immortal, a magical being that's going to give you something important or smack you if you're a little bit too on your high and mighty.
Too pompous.
Yes, even emperors are wary of climbing mountains because it's on a mountaintop that they can see a terrible weather phenomenon that's going to announce to everybody that this is a bad emperor.
Interesting. So, there was a woman who you talked about, a female god or goddess. What was the name?
I have Guanyin, the goddess of compassion, and she's the one that smacked around the emperor and said, no, 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 no more greed for you. And then, but there are lots of female shapeshifters. There's a tiger fairy story about a charming, charming tale of a woman who is a very happy wife, has several children, but one day her husband takes her back to the mountain region where he has found her originally, and she becomes very longing and sad, and she all of a sudden shapeshifts, turns back into the wild woman that she was all along. And he was just kidding himself when he thought he had a domesticated woman.
We often think in terms of China as not giving women, because of what's gone on with girl babies and this kind of thing. Do the myths, do the women in the myths give women much more of a sense of power in that culture?
Absolutely. We have really two distinct, sharply contrasting paradigms of women. One is the domesticated, the very filial, the one filled with obligation. But on the absolute flip side of that coin are these women of the waterways, really literally dragon ladies, that do trace their heritage back to watery demons and ghost figures, and women especially in charge of drought control and water. So in this hot climate, we would have had a dragon lady out to help us regulate and calm this climate down. There's too much yang out there. We need the female yin.
What do you hope that people in this culture take away from this book?
Well, I certainly hope they see the underside of some of these stories. That is, when they go to the imperial city, to Beijing, but then when they look at the wonderful pictures of Li Shaobai, who I used on the cover, and read the story of the assassination, the story of a woman who, taken into the palace, decides she's going to kill the emperor. There are so many, popular culture has so many sharply contrasting, wonderfully satiric, interesting, dark undersides to Chinese civilization, and I think that these stories have.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and telling us about it. We'll tell people that you can purchase a copy of Victoria's book, In the Realm of the Gods, at local bookstores. Or for more information, log on to cbs5.com/BaySunday. We're going to take another short break, but stay tuned.